What's up, everyone? Be the Installer with my lovely wife, Jen, over here.
Hey.
And we have the 85-inch Samsung QN85B gigantic TV. And we wanted to get one of the best TVs that's 85-inch or larger, under $3,000. And we think we did it, but we have to unbox it, set it up, and see how the content looks on this and see how it stands up versus the competition. At the end of the video, I'm gonna kind of go over the other TVs that we considered for one of the best under $3,000 in the 85-inch or larger. So stick around to the end for that.
But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like button, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and ring the notifications bell so you can be updated when we put out a new video. Okay, let's get into it, babe.
Let's do it.
Hey, Bren, let's do a joke.
Okay.
How did the zombie clog the toilet?
I don't know how.
With a brain dump.
You like that? All right.
I like my jokes, even though you think they stink.
Ooh. All right. Gotta get these clips off. Oh, you gonna pull those out? I was moving the TV for you. She thought it was tipping. That was pretty good. That was better than the joke. I got it.
My joke was awesome.
All right, there you go. So while Jen's picking this stuff up, I wanted to let you know that we have a new quiz at BeTheInstaller.com where you go through a bunch of different questions to find out what kind of room conditions and content you're going to be watching and the distance you sit from the TV to then pump out what TVs would be best for you. I think it's a really helpful tool when you're deciding between a couple different TVs. So go to BeTheInstaller.com and check it out today. Open it up.
Let's see what we've got. Okay, we've got our quick setup guide. Oh, here we go. I found them. We've got our remote and batteries. And cord.
Fun stuff.
And there we go. Looks like the stand, part of the stand.
Yeah, it's a little different than the stand from last year that I believe, so we'll check that out when we get there.
Yeah.
Then that's all that's on top, yeah?
I think so.
Do the overhead shot? I can't tell.
There's only two on each side. Open up like a book.
All right, let me grab one of these. All right, you got that one. I got this one. There's a couple of dents taken out of the styrofoam here, so it's good that they put it all on there, and then they have this nice piece in the front, which I think helps the screen in case you kick it, but it doesn't really help if you kick it there or on the other side, just in the middle. You can take it off? Mm-hmm. All right. Take the side piece off. Got the big old stand there.
Yep.
Is it heavy?
Yep, it's slippery.
Heavy and slippery. A double threat, literally.
Yeah, surprisingly for how thin it is, it's pretty heavy, but I guess that's good if you want to keep your TV from falling over.
Interesting stand. So let's get the two pieces and put it together.
Let's do it.
It shows you, just in case you threw away the instructions, what you should do in order to put the stand on. It's pretty cool. You can just pull off the middle section and then the stand just goes right in there, and then you can just lift it off because it's a little dangerous if you're messing around trying to lay these flat on things when you have a brand new TV. So we'll follow these instructions and get the stand on now. So we have these two pieces. This one sits on here, but it has a cover for the cords. You can run the cords down, which is neat, but you gotta take that off in order to put the screws on. So here we can put the screws going down right there. And this has a little hook to catch it. I don't think that the entire weight of the TV would catch on that, so you better put the screws in before you connect this. I know.
Got all wimpy.
Fun part.
Stiff screw. Okay.
Good deal. We'll put that on. Looks nice, and then we'll take it back off later. Okay, so let's you want to flip those up, and then we gotta. And then there's one on the front if you want to get this. Oh, there you go. Nice work. So you lift this piece up here, and then you just kind of kick the front piece out. Just slides out. Look at that.
Nice.
And it, gives you a spot to put the stand. All right, so we're gonna put the stand on. You're gonna do that?
I got it.
You're the pro.
I am.
I'll hold this up here and see if I need to. So let's see. Just enough area. Now, that's pretty tough. I mean, because the problem is when I tip it forward, the front of the stand hits the ground. So you kind of have to, I think that's good. It doesn't really seem super tight, but go ahead, Jen. See what we got. It doesn't feel like it's on real sturdy, but it's like connected to the plastic, but not the front part. I don't know. All right, well, let's take it up. Let's see what happens.
Let's do it.
All right, to get this out, I'll lift and then you pull the styrofoam
Sounds
out. How about that? There we go.
There we go.
And then you want to do the same thing on this end?
Sounds good.
All right, I'll just tip it up. Easier than lifting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty
Well,
sturdy.
I
You
lift
want
when you
to
can
bring it
slide.
forward a little?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. All right.
There we go. Okay.
Get this thing out of here. Styrofoam always makes a mess on the carpet.
Yeah.
It'll be what it'll be. Angle it a little bit back like this. This probably needs to be a little bit more angled, more like that, yeah. All right, you ready to lift this? One more for the road here. 1, 2, 3. I actually like the 85s because they give us enough room to get on the ends of the TV. All right, let's pull this plastic off.
Oops.
So Jen, what do you think about that stand?
It feels a little wobbly, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
I mean, 85-inch TV, maybe with the smaller models.
You're making me nervous.
Yeah, it's a little sketch with that stand. So I liked last year's, it was a little bit more solid, but I think it better hold, right? But I think on the front here, it's cool. Samsung gives you this protection here when you're picking up the TV, so you don't squish the TV too much. We gotta take that off. And I believe behind that, Jen, is a full sheet of plastic to pull off.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous about this stand. I hope I don't knock it off the stand while I'm trying to pull the plastic off, and because that would really ruin my moment of zen.
All right. Here's to hoping.
Boop.
You're going from this corner.
Yeah.
Here it
Ooh,
is.
Shocking.
You got a shock?
Yeah,
It's very shocking.
it's because I'm so attractive.
Ooh. Fair enough.
Oops. Double-handed, how about that? Oh, I'm stuck in a box.
Nice work. It's a pretty good looking TV. That's what you get with the mini LED from Samsung. I think we need to fire this thing up and see what it can do.
Let's do it.
All right, let's look at the back. We got to check out the ports in the back, I believe. So first we have the 600 by 400 millimeter pattern on the back, the VESA pattern. And that's pretty standard. Pretty much any mount that's for a large TV has that pattern. And then on the side here, we have the HDMI ports. We have USB on the top there. You can connect a hard drive to the second one, HDD there. You have the optical input there, and then you have 4 HDMI. I think this is the first year that all 4 HDMI ports are gaming ports. So they're all HDMI 2.1. And HDMI 3 is the eARC port where you can connect your soundbar or stereo system to and send out sound directly from the TV. And then you have the LAN port below that. You have an X-Link where you can connect remote if you need to, and then the antenna and all that. So pretty straightforward on the back, very connective. I think that's about it. Very cool looking TV from the back, but we need to get to the front and check out what it can do. Okay, last but not least, we have the solar cell remote from Samsung. You got all the things you need, nothing you wouldn't, and it has a few of the app buttons at the bottom. And then on the back, it actually has a solar panel for charging. You just have to have it facing the light. And then there's also a USB port on the bottom. So you have that. Why don't you pull the tab on that, Jen? Fun stuff. And then we'll have to thank our lovely hand model for this. So why don't you go ahead and turn on that TV. But first, I'd like to thank HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. As a busy family of 4, we're always trying to map out our week ahead of time, which includes meal prep.
I love to cook, but the issue is deciding what to cook and then having the time to grocery shop before even making the food.
With HelloFresh, you can skip the grocery store and take control of your time and budget with delicious recipes delivered right to your front door.
We've been using HelloFresh for a while now, and we love the convenience of getting their delicious pre-portioned meal deliveries each week.
Eating well is top of mind for our family, and it's comforting to know that you always get top quality with HelloFresh.
Ingredients travel from the farm to you in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh. With over 35 weekly recipes, they always have great options that our family is looking for. You can customize select meals by swapping proteins or sides, adding protein to a veggie dish like we did last night, or even choosing calorie or carb-smart recipes.
HelloFresh even makes cooking more enjoyable, as our sons love to help Jen in the kitchen with the nice and easy-to-follow recipes.
So go to HelloFresh.com and use code INSTALLER21 for 21 free meals plus free shipping.
That's 21 free meals plus free shipping when you use my code INSTALLER21 at HelloFresh.com today. Okay, we're here on the Tizen operating system home screen, and it's a pretty good operating system with regards to finding information, finding apps, being able to watch a lot of different content. You do have all the apps here at the top. You can reorganize them. I've moved a couple already. You just hold down the enter button and choose move, and you can move these left or right, so that's pretty nice. They do not have that pop-up any longer that they used to have when you press the home button. It used to just have a pop-up at the bottom, but this is all just one page, which is fine. I'm getting used to it over the last, I guess it's been 2 years now. You can check out the recent channels that you are watching, and in this instance, it just popped up on the Samsung Plus, which is a really cool feature of the TV where you have tons of channels if you just click into the TV Plus. I've used this over many years here, all the way back to 2017, I think, with the KS8000. You have all these channels that you just get for free, a lot of good TV to watch. And they've improved this over the years here, the menu. It used to be a lot more complicated, or it just didn't show up. Sometimes you had to press a bunch of buttons to get into this and find out where different things were, but you can click on sports, entertainment, game shows, all this stuff. And you get a lot of things for free here. So if you don't have cable and you're just, a YouTube person, or you watch movies, Netflix, all that, now you have channels. If you're bored, you can come in here and watch a bunch of different content. They also have this gaming hub here where you can connect a console, or you can also just play online. And I didn't even know about this until I went to CES 2023 here, where you can just connect your Xbox controller and use your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and play all the games that are up on the cloud on your TV without a console. And that's great because we have kids that love to play games, but when the console is the limiting factor, as it sometimes could be if it's old and full of other games, this would be a really easy way to access all those smaller games online. And then of course they have the ambient mode where you can see a bunch of different backgrounds. It's not exactly like the art mode of the Samsung frame, but it's still really cool that you can have this on when nothing else is being displayed and just see some cool backgrounds. This TV can be mounted really tight to the wall, so that could come in handy if you just don't want to see a black rectangle on the wall. This year's models, along with last year's, have this multi-view option too, which is pretty awesome. You can watch two things at once. You can throw up something on the screen, and you can actually tap your phone up to the screen and use that as well. So whether you want to connect your Xbox on one side and watch a YouTube video on the other straight off the TV, or connect your phone to share videos or short form stuff, you have the opportunity to split the screen up, and I think that's pretty cool. Was a big fan of picture-in-picture back in the day, and this is more or less the same thing. And watching this SDR content or just your typical cable or sports from the Samsung Smart channels looked good enough, and I think I was pretty satisfied. But I want to turn on the YouTube TV because that's kind of our standard. It's lower resolution and lower bit rate, so it really challenges TVs to look great. But honestly, there's really nothing I dislike about the Samsung QN85B, besides the fact that in some scenes, some of the colors are a little oversaturated. This is just in standard mode, but a lot of people will actually like that when they're watching SDR to have nice, bright, vibrant colors, even if it's a bit oversaturated. It's not calibrated, so I think SDR looks great. This TV would be fantastic for sports, probably overkill if you're just watching news or something like that all day long, but it has a really nice look in SDR, and I think we should move on to check out some HDR movies to see how that looks. So in HDR on Disney Plus, we put some animated movies on that go full screen just to see how bright and vibrant a TV can look and how that TV performs at its best. And as you can see, this TV is extremely bright. It has a lot of color. Some of the screen looks a little oversaturated with these animated videos. And I don't know if we can really get a true understanding of how the HDR performance is with these animated movies. To get a better understanding of how the HDR performs, let's go to the Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens. There's a scene in this where it's pretty challenging for QLED TVs, and it has its differences between an OLED versus a QLED, where in the beginning part of this, it's very difficult to see things in a very dark scene. However, you can see the stars pretty good in this opening section, but we've shown this scene where the ships come around this Death Star, and normally with an OLED, they're very bright because it's got pixel level control, but you don't have it on something like this QLED with the backlighting. So they're a little bit more dim as they come around, but then when it goes back to very big sections of white on black, you get a lot brighter of a section than you would on an OLED TV, where it gives you just a lot of contrast and punch on this QN85B. But then when you go back to a scene in the dark again where two people are talking, now it's a little bit harder to see what's going on. So you have your pluses and minuses, whether you want a very bright and punchy screen on a QLED where when you get to brighter screens, it's extremely bright and awesome, or an OLED where you're watching things very dark like the House of Dragons or these movies in widescreen where it's a little bit harder to see details. But sitting in front of this and watching it, I feel like I'm not really losing anything. I'd have to have probably an OLED up to compare it to and say, okay, there's a little bit more detail or a little bit less detail. But overall, I do like how bright this QLED can get. And something that I'm pretty impressed with is that I haven't noticed any blooming in the widescreen area. Typically, when you're watching a movie in HDR with these backlit TVs, you'll start to see some light bleed, but I'm sitting in front of the TV, can't see any of that. And it looks as OLED-like from straight on as I've seen from a lot of these other mini LED TVs. What can make it more challenging is if you add subtitles, but even adding those subtitles doesn't seem to make a difference. I don't really see any blooming from straight on. Now, if I go off angle at about 60 degrees, pretty extreme angles, I can see that there's a little bit of a wash out of the picture and you can see a little bit more blooming. That's extremely wide angle. If you're watching the TV from over there, it's not really useful anyways. But you know, straight on, 45 degrees each way in a larger, wider room, it still looks pretty good. This 85-inch is a VA panel versus the smaller sizes that are not. Those are like ADS panels. So the 85-inch is probably the best one to get of this QN85B, and I should have mentioned that earlier, but we do big TVs here, so I'm liking it so far, and I think we should just check out a blooming test just to verify the results that we're getting in this real world content, so let's do that quickly. Okay, and turning this blooming test on, it kind of confirms what we were already talking about. There doesn't seem to be much blooming, if at all, around the outside of the objects that are moving around. They don't look quite as bright as regular content, so there's definitely a little bit of suppressed highlights when the circle moves fast. But overall, I really don't see much blooming. And I think that this is one of the best TVs that I've seen this year with regards to reducing that blooming and not having light bleeding into the areas that you don't want it. There's a couple more tests that we can do. One would be the dirty screen effect, just to see how the uniformity of this panel looks when the light comes through. And the other would be how it handles reflection. So let's do those since we're already testing. So in checking the uniformity of the TV, we want to watch the hockey player move left or right and see if you can notice any cloudy areas behind him. We've done this test on almost every TV that comes through here, and I think that this scores pretty well. I don't notice a whole lot of cloudy areas. It's minimal in some spots, but I do think that it has to do with some of the anti-reflective properties on some of the other screens. I notice that it gets worse when you have good anti-reflective coating, and sometimes when you don't have great anti-reflective coating, you don't notice it as much. So that leads me to wonder if this is going to be good at handling reflections because the uniformity is pretty solid. So let's get some content on the screen and turn on some really bright lights and see how it handles reflections. So yes, the reflection handling is kind of what I thought. It isn't as good as the QN90B. You can tell because it doesn't have the really aggressive rainbow effect that goes across the screen, which does help eliminate general light, but kind of annoys some people. So I actually think that this does a very good job. There's some TVs that are in competition with this that I'll talk about in a second, like the X90K that really has a matte-like screen, even more matte-like finish than this, and it's not as bright. So we have a combination of a very bright screen in the QN85B. It handles reflections okay, but overall, a lot of positive things about this TV. So let's jump into gaming because it has really good gaming chops, and I want to show you that now. All right, if you don't know, Samsung are fantastic for gaming. This year is the first year that they have 4 HDMI ports that are 2.1. They can game 4K at 120 frames per second on any of the ports, so any of the consoles you have or PC gaming or whatever work great. Also has VRR, I think it has FreeSync Premium Pro, so you have all these different options and it looks amazing on top of it. So I mean, huge immersive screen from here. I mean, it just looks so awesome playing this game. So many bright colors. It's kind of like too much, but I think anyone that's gaming is going to love this TV for that. And if you hold down the play pause button, you also can pull up their game bar, which I think is really nice. It doesn't take up too much of the screen, so you can still play and score goals while you're checking out what you need here. There's different game genre modes you can put it in. You also have the ability to see some of your stats way at the bottom, what the frame rate is, if you have HDR, VRR, all those things on there. And you can go through and increase the blue light filter, so if you're playing at night, you don't get super, wide awake all night. All kinds of cool things on this game bar, and then you can just press exit to get rid of that. So I think this is one of the best TVs for gaming. People that are playing bright and crazy games are going to love the Samsung QN85B for that. And I think that Samsung has done a great job with gaming in general. So overall, I really like the QN85B. Again, this is the 85-inch model. So if you're getting a smaller model, it has a slightly different panel. So the results may not be exactly the same, but this is very impressive. It's very bright. It has very good control of the dimming algorithm, really minimal blooming. It doesn't have the super wide rainbow effect that the QN90B has. So in that respect, it might be appreciated a little bit more not to have that rainbow go across the screen. Obviously, the QN90B is going to be a little bit brighter, but the whole point of this video was what was best under 3,000, and that QN90B is actually 3,800 at the time of filming this video. So what other TVs might this compare to? Well, I'm gonna make a video sort of my favorite large screen TVs that I'll go over more in detail, but I think the one that best matches this QN85B is actually the QNED85 from LG, where I think it has a lot of the similar features. It's a mini LED TV as well. I believe that is the ADS panel. I think that there might have been a little bit more blooming on that TV, and that this TV might be slightly better, brighter, but they're both very good gaming TVs, and that's right around the same price, $3,000 or $2,700, somewhere in that range. So that would also be a very good performing TV at this price point. Then we did review a couple of TVs that may not be quite as good. Something like the X90K. I don't think that's quite as bright. It had a little bit more blooming issues, but that TV is like $1,000 less than this one right now. So you can get that at Best Buy or Costco, and it's around $2,000 for an 85-inch, and that is a pretty good TV. I think a lot of people would probably not notice a ton of the differences unless they had them next to each other, but it would look fine in a darker room. So with it being $2,000, significantly less than this TV or that QNED85, that would be a good TV and normally is bought by a lot of people around Super Bowl Sunday or when they're looking for a large format screen. And it also has a Google OS, which a lot of people like. So there's a lot of reasons to maybe like that TV. And then if you go further down, you're talking about TVs in the $1,000 range or so. We did the LG UQ7590, which I think if you're just watching sports or regular TV would be fine, and it's much less expensive. But if you're trying to get, really bright HDR or really, impressive gaming, it's not quite as good. So again, that's 1/3 of the price. You're on like another whole price point. But that and maybe the X80K from Sony, which is a direct lit TV. It doesn't even have the local dimming zones, and it's not mini LED. So again, you're losing a lot of features. You're not going to have as good of black levels, as bright of a screen. And of course, you do have a couple of 83-inch or 77-inch OLED TVs. All of the 83-inch OLEDs are actually more than $3,000, and all the 77-inch OLEDs, which are just under $3,000 and are fantastic in certain situations. I love OLED TVs, but we said 85-inch or larger, and those are 77. So I guess we either have to get a more competitive 83-inch to make it, or we have to lower our size limit. But I think most people know OLED TVs are pretty awesome, and if you can get one of those OLED TVs for $2,600, $2,700, and that's the way you want to go, I would highly recommend that that too. But overall, very impressed with the QN85B, especially this 85-inch. If you're looking for one of the best TVs at $3,000 or less, I'd highly recommend this. You can check out the links in the description to buy this TV. It supports the channel and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. Please smash the like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell on your way out. And I will see you on the next video.